Hi Lisa,
Hello, Ruth.
how are you on this sunny day?
Oh, isn't it such a treat to have even a wee bit of heat with the sun today?
Yeah, I know. Have you been enjoying it?
Oh, I am born for that weather out there. I think I was created to live in a place that
Mm.
has that kind of weather. It does great things for my well-being,
You've been a
my
bit
men.
displaced. You've ended up in Scotland.
I don't know. That's my problem. I met a Scotsman, and that's where he
Yeah.
took me.
Love
Damn
Scotland.
it!
Lots to answer for me.
I do love it here, though, too.
Yeah. We're back for
Yes.
one of our weekly Easter Rocks conversations, which I really look forward to now that we've got into the flow of them. They punctuate my week. Really nice. Um, and just a wee introduction again. My name's Ruth Coates, and I am a psychotherapist based in East Lothian.
And I'm Lisa. I'm a coach at East Rocks and also owner of Superbeing.
And today we're responding to a request, aren't we, in terms of the topic of our conversation, which is lovely. We love a suggestion, and it's about sleep. Um, yeah, it's about sleep, and I am sure this is probably it affects a good portion of the population at one time or another. Unfortunately, some more than others as well. And it's such a foundational thing, isn't it? Sleep.
Well, it's a third of our lifetime.
That's right. Yeah.
That, that's what we sleep in
Mm.
a whole third. I mean, that's a massive chunk.
And to not enjoy that, to not have a satisfactory experience of that, and that's putting it mildly, isn't it? Not to be able to sleep is really so disruptive and it's so frustrating. Um, and I think it's that foundational thing for me. It's that it just supports every other thing we do, every other aspect of it, the way our systems work together, but also our mood, our productivity, our physical health. So it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, it's kind of, and probably, maybe people who have slept well normally, who don't normally have issues with sleep, they go about their day to day, their days are filled, their days are busy, they've got normality, their normality, and now, especially in this time, they in this period that we're in, I suppose sleep is ever more important because we've got to look after our immune system as well.
What I'm hearing is actually that it's ever more difficult to get a good night's sleep at the moment.
Yeah,
And that's for a variety of reasons, I think.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Probably similar reasons to why someone can't sleep in general, but they're just maybe exacerbated at the moment. They're a bit more kind of extreme, those reasons, yeah.
Switched on, probably. Days aren't as maybe fulfilled, as occupied energetically, mentally, and physically than they normally are. And
Mm.
so, therefore, maybe there's just that, all that energy still kind of whirring around when it's
Yeah,
bedtime.
yeah. What do you do with it? And then we're on social media more, so there's that stimulation. We don't have the same routine, so our rhythms are all out of whack. And
Yeah.
we're probably, I mean, I would say we all are experiencing more anxiety at the moment. So again, what do we do with that?
Yes.
It's a bit about how we sleep in now in the time of coronavirus, but also what
Yeah.
might help or what's helped you and I when we have had sleepless nights. So yeah.
So yeah, there's a thing called, believe it or believe it not, there's a thing called sleep hygiene. Sounds really weird, but it actually just is about doing a few wee things that help you, the individual, to try and create a really nice space for your sleep. So, I mean, that means putting on, for me, my ultimate is a bath and fresh bed sheets.
Oh, it's an absolute, it's a winner.
It's always been a winner, since I was a very little small person.
No, well, that's
And
it. It's attached to really good memories, then, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's such a lovely thing. And where we lived in quite a cold house, our house was very cold. And I remember, you'd have this lovely warm bath, and then you'd hop into, and I had these kind of like brushed cotton sheets. there was a name for them. Do you remember they were striped?
Yeah, I think it's still brush cotton.
Is it? And we used to just, oh my God, that was the best night's sleep I ever would have had, because it was cozy and clean, and oh, it was such a comforting experience. So yeah, so that even to this day for me is an absolute win-win.
So that's a really important and interesting point, actually. What worked before? Like, remind yourself, what's the coziest of cozy, I suppose, from the past, and can you recreate any of that? Absolutely. Yeah. Brushed cotton sheets are up there at the top of my list. And yeah, I think a nice hot bath before is, for me, what's in that, the ingredient is going to a cool bed. And so a kind of cool room and cool bed sheets are really important for us for a good night's sleep. So I think that's because our system can regulate and our temperature can regulate, and we can relax. Our systems don't have to fight to do anything anymore. Everything can relax. Yeah, so those things help you.
Yeah, that is like a serious go-to. So if I was really feeling it, or if I was very tired, or when I used to work long hours before, that would have been a real craving. Because I used to be very tired. It wasn't a case of not being able to sleep. I just didn't get enough. Right. So I'd be coming home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and my children would have been up at 6:30. So,
well, that's another aspect of how you're sleeping, isn't it? Are you getting enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So anything from, well, for us adults, anything from 7 to 10 hours is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
So kids, obviously teenagers need a wee bit more, babies need even more. But yeah, and I think if you think about, if you're like, my husband is not the best sleeper, and he's he will go to bed, no problem getting to sleep, but generally spends a good portion of the night. So maybe between 3 and 4:30.
Yeah, well, that is so common. And I bored my dad recently with this, who is also a bit of an insomniac. I'm not sure it helped, but my little fact is that in the Middle Ages, we had 2 sleeps, and it was called, there was a word for it, but it meant 2 sleeps. And we, in the kind of waking period, in the middle of the night, the early hours, we would be sociable. We would we would be productive. We would do things around our kind of house, and we'd socialize with each other, and then we'd go back for another sleep. And it was seasonal, so it kind of changed with the seasons. But that's another thing for me. It's about being in tune with light.
Yeah.
And light is so important. Do you know what I have really tried to do recently, because we're at home more, is, of course, with our routines, you'd be out taking the kids to school, I'd be out getting to work, so you'd be out in daylight, and it has a different frequency, that first morning light, which affects your circadian rhythms, which are those rhythms that govern sleep. So what I've been trying to do is just get outside my back door, to have a cup of tea or something, just to absorb some of that light, because I know that, I don't feel it, not necessarily feel it in the moment, but from what I've read, it does have an impact.
Daylight's so important.
Isn't it crazy?
Sorry?
Isn't it crazy that should affect your night's sleep?
Yeah. And I think because that's what they used to do, I suppose, if you think back in the Neolithic times, they used to wake with the light. So in the summertime, that's like really early.
Yeah, it is.
A long day actually in the summertime, and then in the wintertime the days are much shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the light, the light is not coming through until, I don't know, 6:30, 7 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. So sleep would adjust, I think, throughout the year.
Yeah.
And hooray for naps as well. Naps, if you can get a nap in, that actually, despite what people think, actually supports a good night's sleep as well. It's about really listening to your body. And tuning in.
And it's that thing, where whenever you become aware of not sleeping well or needing to get more sleep, and then you put all this pressure on yourself because you decide that you need to have a routine. So the routine then becomes really quite crucial, and it almost becomes kind of, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, and then I can go to sleep. And it's a case of not really, you're not really able to do that, because I think I've just lost my train of thought. Small child, sorry. basically, I think what happens is the pressure, it becomes pressurized to get to sleep, and then you get your knickers in a twist because
Yeah.
you wanted to be in bed at 10. It's now 10:15. You're nowhere near tired, and you're fed up, and you're thinking, crikey, I'm never going to get to sleep tonight, and this is awful. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
It's
okay.
a real, it's a real paradox, isn't it? I think you get busy around a good night's sleep, so you go through your list of things that need to be right for me to get a good night's sleep. And unbeknownst to us, or maybe we do know, our anxiety levels rise, and we switch on again. And I actually think most of us, probably, and me included, need to turn our attention to what we do for the rest of our 24 hours.
Yeah.
So for me, personally speaking, I know I go through patterns of not sleeping or wakefulness. And I think that's hormonal, still trying to work it out. But there'll be a few nights a month where I sleep lightly. So I'm awake and I just can't get back to sleep. And what's worked for me, so a nighttime thing that's worked for me is I get up.
Right.
Get up and I come down to the lounge and I sit and I might have a drink of water or something. And I either just sit and think, or I lay down on the sofa, and it's this change of scenery, and then I get tired and then I go back to bed, and it works.
Yeah.
And because I'm not just lying in bed trying to get to sleep, like, come on, Ruth, work hard, try and get to sleep. It's just like a change. And for me, during the day, it's so important. Coffee is so important for me. Love it. But I can only have one a day. And it matters so much about when I have it. It has to be before 12 o'clock, really. And Dr. Chatterjee, his stuff.
Yeah.
So he's written about that recently, actually, in one of his Instagram posts. But there's a certain time, there's like a peak time of day, and it's slightly different for everyone. But if I was to have coffee later in the day, even just a wee bit after 12, then my cortisol levels would spike later on in the day. It might not have an effect right there and then, but the wave of the cortisol levels would spike later. So that might affect my sleep. So I really try and control that.
And I think, that's another thing that's really important. And I think also what we eat and what we drink prior to bed, and also the time that we eat before we go to bed as well, because taking you back, you mentioned the circadian rhythm. I read a really interesting book on that, and basically whenever we tune into our circadian rhythm, which is like, if you can imagine a Big Ben clock with all the cogs all going around and all fitting beautifully in time. That is our liver, our tummies, our gut, our heart, our lungs, our brain. Everything is working in tune with each other. So if we decide to eat, which sometimes we do because we're out or whatever we're doing, eat late or eat something fairly hardcore in an evening. So say we had an Indian at 10 o'clock at night and we got to bed at 11, it's not going to bode well. And it just sets the whole circadian rhythm off. So that'll affect your gut, might be upset. Your liver is working overtime to try and, get it all through.
So your whole body can't relax then. It's not going down into sleep. It's still busy.
It's working.
Yeah. And your blood supply, I guess, as well.
Yeah, because that's why we do sleep, because we're trying to reset all our blood vessels, so lower our blood pressure, relax our heart, and it's for your good health, the sleep.
Yeah.
So when we're not able to sleep, for whatever reason, we're not resetting all of those health goalposts that sleep is there to do.
Yeah. I was chatting to someone who came to one of our retreats, and she was asking, what can I do right now? It was kind of bedtime. She's like, what can I do to get a good night's sleep? I'm a terrible insomniac. What can I do? And it really has got me thinking, because we talked about breathing for relaxation, but actually I'm more inclined now to think it so matters what you do during the day. And it actually takes the pressure off from bedtime as well. Yes. If you can get those things right, and I think we see a gradual change, don't we? It's not like, I did A, B, and C during my day, so I had a great night's sleep. But that you see kind of gradual change if you get some of these things right.
Yeah, and exercise is up there with, whether it's a really lovely walk out in wherever your scenery is, whatever is beautiful to you. We're obviously supremely lucky where we live, because we've got the most beautiful beautiful vistas and scenery and places to be. Even if it's just a walk, you don't have to pummel yourself, but it is important to use your body the way that it's been gifted to you to use. So go for that walk, do your exercise, do whatever, you know, that you enjoy at the time, but also that expels a wee bit of that energy, because we are just one big massive ball of energy. And it's about how we place our energy throughout the course of the day. So yes, through eating, that uses energy, through exercise, through speaking, through studying, through, you know, brain exercise, managing your children, you know, all of these things actually go towards using up our energy for the day, enable us to then just go.
There's a really conscious wind down that we need to do, I think, because we're not that great at doing it in our busy lives at the moment. But a kind of few hours wind down before, and I really see that marker as kids' bedtime, actually. And things are going quiet and things are slowing down. And if I do any work after their bedtime, I'm in trouble, because I've activated my brain again.
You've woken up the genie.
So that's, I've just realised that actually that is a natural wind down that happens, and I'm just so delighted to have some peace and quiet at that time of day.
Totally. Ours, because we're back to school now, we're back into a bit more of a routine, and we always would have done nighttime reading, especially with the little one, and we're back to getting in my bed, getting the book out, reading the book. It's a big book, so it's a big Harry Potter book, so we try and do maybe a chapter, and everybody's just in that time, in that space. Everybody is deep.
No, it's really reminded me, this part of our conversation, about previous times when we've chatted, and we've said a couple of times, haven't we, about going back, how would you treat yourself as a small child, or how do we treat our small children? And with our kids, we do have a gradual wind down. We don't feed them half an hour before bed, you know. There's like tasks that they know they need to do, brush your teeth, get into, you know, things like that. So again, for me, it's a reminder that I need to really probably nurture myself.
Same.
Yeah, same.
Yes. It's exactly the same. It's so we're so caring towards the kids, because we have encouraged and created a wee routine for them to help them understand that this is what happens. Now I'm going to get into bed. I'm going to have my story. I'm going to get a cuddle and a good night kiss, and lights are off, and it's good night. Yeah. And I suppose sometimes I've been guilty of, you know, oh God, I'm exhausted. Right, up to bed, brush the teeth, wash my face, and plonk myself into bed. Sometimes it works.
Oh yeah, I guess it does. Do you know, I was just thinking as you were talking, I wonder if, are there any foods that you can eat that particularly support a good night's sleep, that support like a soothed digestive system, and, you know? Well,
certainly. And so if you were to make yourself like a hot oat milk or something like that with maybe a bit of honey, turmeric or something like that, I think it's called like a golden milk, and that's very soothing, and your body doesn't have to work hard to do anything with that. I remember another girl once telling me, because of my work patterns, that if I came in and felt a little bit hungry, and it was so delicious, I couldn't believe it was a thing, she said, you know, just have some berries, and on those berries, instead of yogurt, put on some double cream, like a couple of tablespoons of double cream, and just eat that
before bed, as in your kind of final meal before bed,
rather than trying to eat a slice of toast and cheese and something like that, because that was very easy for the body to digest quickly and wouldn't interrupt my sleep.
Oh, great. They're both great tips, actually. Yeah, I have had the golden milk before, but not recently. I might try and again. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I think that's really important. So what you do, as you say, during the day really feeds into what happens at night.
Yeah,
and I absolutely, and I'm totally guilty of it, but absolutely ban all screens in the bedroom.
Yeah, same. Well, I'm actually not guilty of that. I'm very good at that.
Good. I take my phone up to charge, and that's my alarm clock, and I need to get like a good old fashioned.
Yeah. I know there's something about it being close to your bed, though, isn't it? Something about the electromagnetic thing that goes up with it, but also going back to the lights and the importance of daylight, that early morning daylight especially. It's the blue light that's no good for us, isn't it? Because that stimulates our the different rhythms too.
Yeah.
So our brain doesn't know what's going on because the information it receives through the retina is like, oh, you're awake, and you're going to be awake
Yeah.
for a while.
You-
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'll check it before I go to bed and all of that. And so I probably need to be a bit firmer with myself around that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if there's something that you're waiting on that is pressing and you can't go to bed without knowing it, that's different. But I think maybe we should, it's probably like, we wouldn't allow our children to take their phones to bed if they had them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good reminder, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's so important, but it must be super frustrating for people who are really struggling with that either getting to sleep or the wakefulness in the nighttime. And I think probably the advice that I've seen or have read about is just to relax, do what you do, get up, don't lie there frustrated. Because actually your partner can feel that, they can sense that as well, they can sense that wakefulness and that frustration. So it's a good idea to get up and you know, either maybe have a warm drink, something warm, read, just nice dim lights, and just be okay with being where you're at.
I've got one more little nugget as well, though. As something else, maybe it's a bit of another tangent, but to throw in at the end of our conversation. But it's about anxiety, actually, and how we maybe don't realize or want to acknowledge maybe the depth of our anxiety, and where it shows up is in our disturbed sleep. So we might be pretty good at doing all of the things that we've talked about, but if there's background anxiety going on, then that might show up in our sleep. And actually, maybe the focus needs to shift from I need to do A, B, and C to get a good night's sleep to addressing the source of the anxiety, whatever that is. And one of the responses might be, I can't do anything about it, but it's about really working with it, I think, and giving it some attention and space, rather than battling against something that's a symptom, you know?
Sure. Yeah. It's like, because I think sometimes, I suppose, if we've got serious anxiety going on, I mean, that can manifest itself in, well, not sleeping, but also really disturbed sleep through nightmares and, you know, crazy dreams, and which are upsetting and can be quite distressing in themselves. So,
or just not getting into that deep REM sleep that we need to heal and all of that. So, just thought I'd throw in my last bit.
Absolutely. I think it's really important, and also it's, I speak from someone who doesn't have an issue with their sleep. I think a bit like you, it's probably hormonal because it's around certain times of the month, and that I'm much more alert in my bed. And the other times that I'm much more alert in my bed is when Neil's not here. But that is a responsibility thing. There's no fallback. I am 100% in charge of my children, my home, the dog, and everything that's here. And I feel that. So, but when Neil's here, boof.
Unconscious.
So and I feel lucky about that. But I think that, honestly, for me, which is also not necessarily healthy, that is my switch off. But it's not always the most healthiest way to switch off because you are unconscious.
Well, you mean that's when you really just conk out, and that's where you need to go deeply asleep to relax. I think that's okay.
But I'm not necessarily sorting anything out, but I am resting. Anyway, but that is, for me, it's always been my way to switch off. And I suppose just if I am anxious about stuff, or I have stuff weighing me down, I have always been able to close my eyes and shut it out.
That's great. Lucky you.
No, I do. I feel very lucky that that's
boast about it.
No. Hey, we're talking about sleep, and hey, you know what? I have no problem there. No.
Really helpful. So one thing, just to kind of close up then, what one thing just from our conversation today do you think you'll do differently around sleep or around daytime stuff? Or
My days are not too bad. I think my night times, um, I think I would like to maybe just tidy up that a wee bit. So with the phone, I'd like to try and get myself another clock that I'm not relying on my mobile for the time or for my an alarm if I
Yeah,
needed it.
yeah,
That's what I'd like to banish.
that's
Yeah,
pretty easy, isn't it?
yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Mine would probably
You?
be, it would probably be around the phone as well, I'm afraid. That's my kind of Achilles thing. And it would be maybe give myself a curfew for it,
Yes.
but actually top and tailing the day. So kind of not checking it as soon as I get up as well. So maybe just like doing all the other kind of self-care stuff before getting myself a cup of tea, going outside to get some morning light, and then checking it, getting the kids breakfast,
Yeah.
rather than kind of setting off that chain of checking again. And then at the end of the day, yeah, give myself a curfew maybe. Yeah, well, definitely 9 o'clock. I used to do that, and I've really gotten out of it. And I think over the last few weeks, with all of this kind of information overload, I've kind of gone back to seeking,
Of
um,
course.
which is a bit fruitless, and it's kind of having a detrimental effect. So yeah, that's what I'll try and change, I think.
Cool. All right. Well, we should check in next week just to see how that's
Yeah.
gone. Um, I'll have a shiny new alarm clock coming
I want
all
to
the
see
way
it.
from Amazon.
Yeah, and if I get in touch with you after 9 o'clock, you can tell me off.
Yes, exactly. Not telling. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think those are good. That's a good shout. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and always open to suggestions. So please let us know if there's something else you'd like to talk to us about, or for us to talk about to each other. Yes, it was lovely to see you again, Lisa.
You too, as always. Have a lovely weekend.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.